What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are looking at the Lions news for today, and we're also going to be throwing in a top 4 list. Yes, that's awkward, I'm sorry. It's a top 4 list, but it is what it is. Alright, hopefully you guys still enjoy that. Now, one of the things I actually have in this video kind of go against the top 4 list, but it's okay. I think I'll point that out when we get there. Anyways, let's look at some of these stories. Let's get the Lions news started. 12-minute news with your dude. Alright, we gotta get into the intro. Can we just roll it? Get this thing started. The first thing I have today is by another NFL Network reporter. This is Daniel Jeremiah, the NFL Network reporter. I'm pretty sure he's from NFL Network, and he said this. He had this quote. He said it's more likely that the Chargers trade up with the Detroit Lions than the Miami Dolphins. Now, let me give a shout out to one of you guys in the comments. Again, I don't know who. I cannot remember the name now, but it was a while ago. That's why. So at least give me some slack for this one. Basically, you kind of showed me like the whole trading thing and how it could make sense. And now that the Chargers, he's saying there could potentially be the team to trade up with the Detroit Lions instead of the Miami Dolphins, which actually kind of makes sense so that they can hop in front of Miami and get their quarterback. Now, you may be thinking, okay, why would they do that? They want to get Herbert. Well, maybe they think Miami's going to take Herbert, or they want Tua. It's one of the two. I think that's how this is going to work out. Either they want Tua Tagovailoa and they're trying to take him from the Miami Dolphins, which would mean they would try to trade up with us, or they want Justin Herbert and they are kind of worried that the Miami Dolphins want Justin Herbert, which I think I'm going with that story a little bit more because I do believe that Justin Herbert could be a top 3 pick with what I've been hearing about the Miami Dolphins eventually being more interested in Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert. Now, obviously, all of these are smoke screens and not everything you can believe is true. Some things are real, some things may not be. We really don't know. But I do know I have heard a lot of potentially the Dolphins being more interested now in Justin Herbert than Tua Tagovailoa. And with that may mean the Chargers are like, oh snap, we want to make sure we get Justin Herbert. That's our guy. We don't want to deal with Tua's injuries, so they may hop up with us. Now, imagine this scenario. I just thought of this. What if they traded up to go to number 3 with us, and then Miami's like, nah, we want Herbert, and they traded up to number 2. Oh my gosh. Imagine how crazy the draft would be. Could you imagine? I'm just saying that would be wild. So I just wanted to point that out. I just had a crazy thought hop to my head. I just had to give it to you guys. Now, looking at the Los Angeles Chargers, they don't have the same picks this year that Miami does. Miami has 5, 18, 26, 2 second-round picks. They got it all, man. But the Los Angeles Chargers don't really have that. They have 6, which is their first-round pick. Their second-round pick is 37, 71, 102, 133, 167, and 198, which is actually a 7th-round pick. Keep an eye on that pick because we don't have one. So, maybe we get a 7th-round pick. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the top 4. But I do think the Chargers could be actually an interesting team to potentially trade with us. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave us either a future pick or they gave us a player. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two things happened. One, because I don't think they're going to give us like first, second, and third-round picks. Like, that would be wild. If they gave us their first, second, and third-round pick, they would have like no pick. And they'd be like, yeah, we got a quarterback, but nothing else. So that doesn't really help. I could see them giving us 6. Obviously, they have to, and in their second-round pick. But then maybe like a future one or a player. I could see that. It can still work out. Don't even worry about it. Like, we got 37 and 6. We have 35. We'd be all right, and then we got a future pick or a player. We'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be too mad. And dropping back to 6 really wouldn't hurt you too much because then the only teams ahead of you would be the teams that obviously want the quarterback and then the Giants. So there's not a lot of, worry there. It is what it is. I don't think there's too much to be worried about, and I actually think that could actually happen. Now, there is a video on it if you guys want to check that out. I actually don't have the video here because I can't do that because of copyright, but there is a video on that, I believe. So if you guys want to look that up, definitely go do it. Next up is a story about Jordan Howard. Who is Jordan Howard? Jordan Howard is a running back that used to play for the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Okay, Jordan Howard's a running back that used to play for Indiana, and I really like Jordan Howard in college, all right? He was really, really good. Always gave Michigan a really good fight, and I was like, wow, Jordan Howard's a very talented running back. Then he went to Chicago, and I was like, oh, dang it. Why is Jordan Howard in Chicago? But then I guess they're like, it's not working. So they traded away to Philadelphia, and I was like, that's a bad move. It hasn't went exactly as planned because mainly an injury. Now, this is kind of weird how this injury happened. The injury happened because when he was playing the Chicago Bears, he got hurt in the shoulder. Chicago, you're not slick, so Chicago is hurting people now to lose their players. Okay, maybe that's why we don't have Stafford last year. Did they do that? No, I don't know what I'm getting to here. I'm just saying maybe Chicago's a dirty team. Are you guys? No. Anyways, Jordan Howard did get hurt last year, and that was a lot of the reason that it didn't work out too well with Philadelphia. But he's set to become a free agent this offseason, and he could be a good fit for the Detroit Lions. I've talked about him before. I really do think this is a potential option. Last year, in his first 9 games, he actually averaged over 4 yards per carry. He had 119 carries for 525 yards and 6 touchdowns. Not bad. He's more of a powerful running back. He's not a guy that you're going to sling it to out of the backfield and say, hey, go do your thing. Like, nah, you're giving this dude and you're making him be a powerful running back. Now, the difference between him and other powerful running backs that I like a lot more is the age. Our other powerful running backs that we brought in, the big backs for the short yardage, those guys were kind of old, and they just didn't work out, okay? LeGarrette Blount was completely past his prime, and we got him, like, right as soon as he went, like LeGarrette Blount played with us a little bit, because he had, like, that good showing, Patriots, Eagles, and then all of a sudden he came here and he was, like, terrible. That's kind of the similar thing with C.J. Anderson. I don't think we gave him much of a chance, but we didn't keep him around, so I guess it didn't work out. We've had a couple of guys, like Mark Thompson, who I liked. Obviously, got rid of Zach Zenner, a fan favorite, but I do think a guy like this could make a lot of sense, and apparently it's reported that it's more likely that Quinn goes with a free agent running back than a draft running back. So maybe, again, that goes against some of the stuff in the top 4 list that you're going to see after this, but hey, it's okay. Anyways, I do think it is an interesting possibility because other running backs that are available are going to be asking for more money. Kenyon Drake's going to ask for a lot. Melvin Gordon's going to ask for more. Deion Lewis would be a little bit cheaper, but I know not everybody loves Deion Lewis, and I think he's kind of similar to the running backs that we already have. Now, we're losing J.D. McKissick unless we bring him back, but he's still pretty similar to other guys that we have. I feel like a guy like Jordan Howard kind of gives you not what you have, right? You don't have that, but we've tried to have it. So obviously the Detroit Lions want to have that, and Darrell Bevell has had that before with bigger running backs like Marshawn Lynch. So I think he wants a short yardage running back to get the short yards. I think that's always been Bob Quinn's thing, of trying to get one of those guys. Every time it's just seemed to fail, but I think getting a younger guy in Jordan Howard, there's a better chance that he will succeed with the Detroit Lions and be a good addition to the running back group, and then we kind of just don't have to go get another running back if we do that. So I think the thought of bringing in a cheaper Jordan Howard would make a lot of sense. So those are your two news stories. Now we're getting into a top 4 list. Thank you guys all for watching. Enjoy the list, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. We're going to be looking at a weird top 4 list. Yes, top 4. You're probably like, what the heck are you doing? Well, I do have an honorable mention, so we can call it top 5 between us, but it's a top 4. I know it's kind of goofy, but we're going to be looking at 4 weird draft picks that the Detroit Lions could actually make this year. So let's get it started. Now, before we get into the video, I want to say that I am working probably on a mock draft for not only Lions, but for the divisional teams. I know some of you guys actually wanted to see that, and I think that's a really good idea. I think I've done one before, and it did pretty well. So we're going to try to bring that back once again. I'll look at the needs, figure out what their team looks like. It's really hard when you don't count in free agency. Maybe we'll look at free agency as well and do a full mock offseason for all 4 teams. That would take a long time. Why did I do this to myself? I just set something up that's going to take like 7 hours. Oh, anyways, let's just look at this top 4 list, dog. How we get at number 4? We have drafting a punter. Okay, drafting a punter. Like, you're probably like, oh my gosh, let's not start this again. We already drafted a long snapper. We saw how that worked out. Why would you draft a punter? And usually I'd be with you, but I think there's a potential Detroit Lions could draft a punter. Now, there's only like 3 punters on the draft board that'd be actually worth drafting. Otherwise, you could wait till undrafted free agency, or you could just go in free agency and just get a different punter. But why would we do this? Okay, well, we have Sam Martin, who's 30 years old currently, so not the youngest player. He has had to deal with some injuries recently. We know we brought in a guy from Michigan and one of their punters, potentially, if we had to use him. Matt Prater really take on a bigger role when it came to like kickoff specialists and stuff like that. So for a little bit, Sam Martin was dealing with an injury. The thing is, he's not going to be running around getting hitting people, so it's probably not going to be something that's reoccurring. However, it could. I don't really know the severity. I don't really know how severe that injury was for Sam Martin. And at the same time, his contract is up right now. So if the Detroit Lions don't want to give him a new contract, which would be very cheap, we definitely can. If we don't, we're trying to just kind of like, okay, he's just getting older. Maybe we could just find a replacement and maybe at least some competition. They could go get a punter, maybe the top punter in the draft. Yes, we could have the top player in the draft in like the 6th round. Why the 6th round? Because we don't have a 7th round pick. I think this would make more sense if we made a trade prior or during the draft and acquired a 7th round pick, because I feel like in the 6th round you're kind of reaching for a punter. I know it sounds crazy, but I think you are. I don't know exactly. I haven't checked on how the punters go, but for some reason I feel like that's a reach. I mean, we've seen guys in the 6th round go that have been steals. We've seen the Patriots get a starting center out of the 6th round. So players are found in the 6th round, not usually the 7th round. I mean, Tom Brady, but you usually don't find many steals in the 7th round. So potentially a punter is one of those guys that can come in and be an impact. We drafted Nick Bawden in the 7th round. He's still here, so that's good. So yeah, maybe we go punter in the 7th round. I don't know. That's why he comes in at 4. How we get to top 3 though? At number 3, we have drafting a wide receiver in the top 4 rounds. I was going to go with top 3, but I went top 4, to make it a little bit more realistic. Drafting a wide receiver is not much of a need at all this year. I mean, honestly, we have so many other holes that we shouldn't even be thinking wide receiver because, you have Marvin Jones, you have Kenny Galladay, you have Danny Amendola, you have the young guys that you can work with and hopefully improve. You have the Travis Fulghams, you have Marvin Hall, who was balling out last year. You have your roster for this season. This is more a future look into the future, right? Because looking at Travis Fulgham, I feel like the Lions drafted Fulgham last year as a potential Marvin Jones replacement at some point, and last year it just didn't look so well. I mean, he has everything they want, right? He has the size, he has the height, he has everything you want in a wide receiver. when it comes to catching the football, it just didn't seem to click for Travis Fulgham, which is unfortunate, but that's not to say that he won't get it this year. That's not to say that this year won't be a better year for him in preseason and training camp, and, next year he does start to take over that role. But if the Detroit Lions just go to the conclusion that, hey, this ain't working out, we need to find a replacement, and instead of going to spend a lot of money on a free agent, instead of moving Marvin Jones, maybe you just go get a wide receiver in one of the deepest wide receiver classes that we've seen. We're into the 4th round. You're going to find really good wide receivers, a potential replacement for a guy like Marvin Jones when his contract is over if the Detroit Lions don't want to bring him back. I'm not saying trade Marvin Jones, definitely have him play through his last year, but if you get a 1st round pick, no, I still wouldn't do it. Actually, don't trade Marvin Jones, but I'm saying this is a guy that you could get for the future to potentially replace Marvin Jones. And yeah, top 4 rounds, even though it's not a very big need, it could happen. I really don't know. We'll see if it does happen. Marvin Jones comes in at number 3. Well, not Marvin Jones, but drafting wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Okay, hopping into number 2, we have drafting a running back in the first 2 rounds. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, hold up, calm down. I think it's more realistic that the Lions draft a later round running back. I think Zach Moss has been someone they're super interested in. They've had interviews with him. But I will say, I think there's that chance the Detroit Lions go in the first 2 rounds and take a running back. Now, you're probably a little bit shocked. You're like, why would we do that? Okay, well, not at 3. I'm not saying take a running back at 3. I think that's a stretch. Definitely a stretch. But if you potentially trade it back, say with the Miami Dolphins, you get 5 and 26. 26, you could take a running back. Or you just stick with that 2nd round pick, and if some of the great running backs fall, you take one, right? There's like a big 3. There's DeAndre Swift, there's J.K. Dobbins, and there's Jonathan Taylor, all right? I like Jonathan Taylor the most. I like J.K. Dobbins. Swift is good. I like all of them, but Jonathan Taylor is obviously my favorite. But I would not be surprised if the Lions went that route, especially during a trade back. Now, if they don't get a trade back, this is something that I would say is probably less realistic because they're going to try to fill out like mandatory needs. Running backs, a pretty big need, I think. I think it's an opportunity for the Detroit Lions to see, okay, what is the problem here? Can a great running back make this offensive line look a lot better? Because yes, as we keep saying, offensive line needs to be fixed. I think at the same time, we've seen at least some statistical evidence to say that maybe it's not all the offensive line and some of it actually is the running backs, but we don't know that until we try and see who a great running back is. Now, we could move Kerryon and acquire a pick, would say yes. There's a very high chance we're going to draft a running back in the top 2 rounds because then you need a replacement for him, and you got Kerryon in the 2nd round, maybe you get like a 4th for him, and then, hey, that wouldn't be bad. Obviously, the better you get, the better. So if you get a 2nd round pick, I'd be like, yes, let's do it right now. I'd do it for him. You know what I'm saying? But still, I think I would not be surprised if Detroit Lions went to go get a big name running back and really try to give Darrell Bevell a weapon at the running back position. He's had Marshawn Lynch. He's had Adrian Peterson. He has not had a great running back in Detroit. Not saying Kerryon's not great. It's just a health concern. I really do like Kerryon. I praise him a lot. And I'm like, man, I really like Kerryon. He's got the ability. I've seen him play a few times in person. And I'm like, wow, that guy is so quick. And he's always dealing with injuries, and it's so unfortunate, but that's how sports work, and injuries, they can kill a career, and it's super unfortunate. Hopefully he is healthy next year and he's good to go and we don't have to move him because I do like him, but I would not be surprised if we win a running back pretty early, especially if you move Kerryon. But even if we don't, just because you get a running back early doesn't mean you have to move Kerryon, but I wouldn't be surprised because then your running back depth is like super, super high. So I don't know if you'd want to do that. We'll just have to wait and see, but I think drafting a running back should be one of those surprise options that the Lions could make. And finally, coming in at number 1, before we do that, we're going to look at the honorable mention as drafting a tight end. Everybody wants to draft a tight end. Please draft another tight end. It's a joke. I know. That's why it's an honorable mention. Let's hop into number 1. At number 1, we have the Detroit Lions drafting an offensive lineman. Now you're probably like, wait a minute, that's not surprising. In the 1st round. Okay, calm down. Everybody's freaking out now. Relax, okay? We need to trade up to number 2 to make sure we get no lineman. No, that's not what I'm saying. This makes sense in one way for me. The only way I think this makes sense when you're talking 1st round is trading back. If you take a lineman at 3, I probably ain't going to be super happy. Like, I'm not going to be happy. I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to be happy if we take a lineman at 3. But if we can trade back and potentially with some of those teams, not like the Dolphins at 5, but like the Raiders, the Chargers only at 6, like a little bit later teams, those teams, if we could trade back with one of those teams, that's when I could see us going offensive lineman. And I honestly wouldn't be mad about it at that time because now, potentially, even if it was with the Dolphins, you got 5 and 18 or something, offensive lineman would not be too surprising, somewhere around the 10s, because I think there's a lot of linemen that can help the Lions right away. Graham Glasgow looks like he's going to be gone. Rick Wagner's going to be a replacement at some point. Left guard's probably going to need some help. What better way to do that than going to get one of the best offensive linemen in the draft? What better way to do that? The Lions have made it known. Bob Quinn has made it known. He will draft trenches, all right? Drafting O-lineman is not a problem when it comes to Bob Quinn. Other options? Nope. O-lineman. It's not a problem. He's been trying to revamp this offensive line for a while now. Doesn't look like it's been there. Maybe that's why we draft a running back instead. That way he doesn't keep going with the offensive line. But he may need a replacement for sure for Graham Glasgow because that's a huge hole that's going to leave. And if you don't want to do that free agency, if you can't get anything done through free agency, or you just get like a left guard for free agency and you potentially want to get a right guard, don't be surprised if we draft an offensive lineman. Now, there's one guy I'm really looking at, that's Tristan Wirfs. I've had him high all the time. Maybe we get a tackle. Maybe if the tackle falls and potentially we have like the 18th pick in the first round and a really good tackle falls, maybe like a Mekhi Becton, or I don't think that would happen. But, there are a lot of tackles out here. Maybe one of them fall to that spot. I would not be too shocked if Detroit Lions wanted to do that, because if we're being honest here, defense is so important. But, man, it does not matter if Stafford is not on the field. We saw that last year. It just doesn't matter. Now, yes, they could win a few games by shutting down teams, but I don't know if the Detroit Lions in one offseason can just shut down teams, go from worst to first. I don't think now, overall, maybe they could. But I'm saying just defensively, I don't know if they can go from worst to first. However, I think they can be a lot better. I don't know if they'll go from worst to first and just be the best defense where it doesn't matter what the offense is really doing. They don't really have to do anything. I don't think that'll happen. All right, I just don't think we're that close. I do think it could be better. I just don't think we're that close. But if the Detroit Lions got a trade back, not saying taking him at 3, but if you got a trade back and you got an edge rusher and you kept Darius Slay, this is when it could make sense getting an offensive lineman to protect Matthew Stafford, because 0-8 without him kind of shows you where you're at without him. You need to make sure that guy's on his feet. So there you go. Those are 4 crazy wild draft picks Detroit Lions could actually make. Let me know if I forgot any, if you guys would add any to this. And would you be happy with any of these? Maybe not. I don't know. And the honorable mention tight end. I just had to throw that in there. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.